let's talk about counterfeit card decks. It is a controversial subject, as it should be, and there are lots of opinions. Let's just get into it. Counterfeits, fakes, China cheapies, dupes. I'm sure there are a lot of other names for them. But basically, I'm sure you've heard of counterfeit money and maybe counterfeit art or like museum things or other stuff. But just as the name implies, these are fake decks that are made in lower quality and with lower prices. And the reason for doing that is obviously to make money off of someone else's artwork. Now, I want to start this off by saying, yes, as you can see, I do own counterfeit decks. They were either purchased by me before I knew what they were, or knew that counterfeiting was even a thing when it came to cards, or they were gifts. In either case, I have gotten the originals, or I intend to get the originals for a couple because I just haven't got them yet. But there are a few different reasons why people do this. But before I get into any of that, I just want to say that this is about the artists and the people who put the time and effort and money into making the original decks. This is about them and what money they should be making off of their own original product. It is all cardstock, it is all cards, it is all paper. Your divination will not be affected because these are tools. But it all really is going to come down to your personal preference, and it's more of a morality issue than anything else. Decks are decks and paper is paper. You're the one that interprets these decks. You're the one that does the magical work. But if we want to get into the morality issue of it, then yeah, what people will do in order to make these is they'll buy the original, they'll take pictures of it, and they'll mass market the pictures of the original on cheaper cardstock. And they'll make it significantly cheaper, and these things are everywhere. Like, they're sold on Etsy, they're sold on Amazon, they're sold on Temu, on AliExpress, everywhere. But they are on Etsy and they are on Amazon because I have bought them there unintentionally. But I just wanted to get into some differences, just maybe to help, if nothing else. And if you own counterfeit decks, as I said, they are still going to function as the paper that they are. Do with that what you will. But I would encourage you to purchase the real version if you can. Like with Doreen Virtue, no Doreen Virtue is published anymore. She has several decks. This is just some of them. She has a lot, and they are not commercially available anymore because she renounced her religious views back in like 2017. So if you want to buy any of these, they're going to have to be secondhand, and they're going to be outrageous, which is why in that case, I mean, obviously the most economical decision for you to make, I mean, if you want to get the originals, go for it. You can find them online still. Is going to be buying the knockoff, because you can get these for a few dollars online. and you can still have the deck. It's just not the original because you can't buy that commercially anymore. But she's kind of a, there's a whole thing on her, and I'm not gonna get into that. But she's a different set of circumstances than most other counterfeit decks. These I got off of Etsy, and I got them because I was gifted these and I really liked them, and I wanted to make sure that not only did I have the originals because like they're amazing, but because I wanted to make sure that they were getting the money for that. It was the same with this on the Amazon. But there are definitely differences that you can find between the cards. As you can see, size is going to be a big indicator. And obviously, as you can see with these, there's an ISBN number here. Anything that is commercially made and provided by a publisher is going to have an ISBN number on the packaging. And these that are counterfeit are only going to have a QR code, and that's going to take you to an online version of the guidebook because they don't come with guidebooks, which I'll show you. I'll compare them in a minute, but again, ISBN, QR code. So we have the size difference. But I do want to mention with that, some things that you buy from indie suppliers are not necessarily going to have the ISBN numbers on the packaging after you open it. Like these are all from independent artists. They are all completely legit. They don't have the ISBN number on this package because this came in a different box. It does, I mean, there is a guidebook for these and all of that. I keep my cards out of the box, but there are no ISBNs on these. Like I said, they are legitimate. They were purchased from independent makers, but some indies do have ISBNs as well. It really depends on what their publisher is and where they get their cards made from. But anyway, if you are seeing something online that is quite a bit cheaper than what the original would be, like if you look on Etsy, I don't remember how much this was. I want to say like 50-ish, which I'm a collector. I love cards. I've done this for years. This is a newer deck for me, but anyway, I'm not saying to spend $50 on deck cards. That's going to be up to you. This was like $4 or $5. There's definitely a cost difference. This was like $3 or $4, and this was $20. But there are people on Etsy and on Amazon that are selling, they're marketing these decks and they're selling these ones. So make sure that you're looking on the pictures, and if you see this on the picture, it's not the real one. If you're seeing that it's a really small box and it doesn't open from the top like these ones do, then it's not the real one. That's not saying that all boxes open like this, especially not tarot boxes, but still. And look in the reviews. People put a lot of pictures of reviews. Look at that as well. But just to give a little context as far as like the difference in actual product, these, as you can see, have been well used. I got them secondhand, third hand, probably fourth or fifth hand, I don't even know, but they were used when I got them. They do come with a guidebook, and the cardstock, for being like copyright for these was 2012. It is 2023. So for being that old, they're still in pretty good shape, even for being used so much. And you can hear how thick they are. Now these are the counterfeit version. And I got these, I don't know, a couple years ago maybe. And they're not in bad shape, but they are. The cardstock is not terrible, but it's definitely not as sturdy as the other deck. It's a lot thinner. Let's see if I can find. These are the same picture. And you can see the picture quality is different. This is not as clear. There's not as much color saturation. And here's another one, wedding. So there's definitely a difference in not only the quality of the cardstock, but also the quality of the picture on the cardstock. Let me go get something. As you can see, these cards are in pretty well used shape, and they were in a lot rougher shape when I got them. I do really like the Doreen Virtue decks, which is the reason I have several of them, but as you can only really get them secondhand, sometimes they come in pretty rough shape. You can see where this had been lifting at one point. A lot of the corners on them had been lifted. They don't do that anymore, because what I did was I purchased this on Amazon. It wasn't very expensive, and this is a book glue. So what I did was I went with a little paintbrush and I put some glue under the flappy, and I just pushed it on there and I let it dry, and that helped repair all the damages that were done to these cards. Obviously there's nothing I can do for this part, but if you do have some like either books or cards that do need some repair work, like on the corners or sides or whatever, then this is an option for that. I'm just saying, that's a little extra for you, but that's the difference in the quality of the cards themselves. And then we have, this is the Moon Witch Oracle. It is a beautiful deck and I absolutely love it. This is the box that comes in, the actual deck itself, the original. It has a guidebook. And these are the cards for that. You can see that the shiny parts are, they're like I don't know the word for it, like inlay or something like that. But all the gold is not flush with like the card. And this is the Counterfeit deck. There's no guidebook. And these are those cards. They are very thin. Like, incredibly thin. And the gold part is not really gold. It's more of like a brownish. And it's not shiny at all. They're still pretty cards, and as I said, they still work. But They are definitely no comparison to the originals. Let me see. There's definitely some quality difference. There's definitely a thickness difference. These ones are white on the sides. They're not golden like these. And I do not use any decks that I know are counterfeit in any of the readings on the channel because I don't want to perpetuate that, and I don't want to have it seem as though I'm encouraging it. There have been times where I have, before I knew that they were, like in older videos, I have used a couple decks that I did not realize at the time were counterfeit. But this is the fake African Goddess Rising. Really thin. And this is the real one. You got the book. Even the differences of the backs of the cards are pretty obvious for this one. And the picture quality themselves, in comparison to the original deck, is a lot lower. This is one of my absolute favorite decks that I own. And none of these counterfeits really do the original decks justice, but this one, the colors are just not nearly as vivid. See. Now, as far as the actual tarot decks themselves go, I bought these off of Amazon before I knew that counterfeits even existed. I didn't know they were a thing, and I bought these. As you can see from the back, they are definitely counterfeit, and these were priced the same as the actual decks themselves. I do not yet have copies of the actual decks. It is something I'm working on. But these are, I know that with this one, this deck itself, the real deck is red. Upon, like, on actually looking, the dude has like a whole YouTube video on it. This cardstock is not very good. The deck itself is red. Well, the newer, I want to say the original ones were not red, but the newer versions that are published now are definitely red. And these are just, they're really small, which I have small hands. But I think that the original ones are quite a bit bigger. But anyway, you can see from the QR code that these are not originals. QR code on this, these are not originals. And the cardstock, again, is pretty thin and they're really small. I don't have the originals to compare them to, obviously. But like, you shouldn't be able to hold several cards and do that easily. And I know that this deck does come with like a guidebook, and it's a whole big old box, which I didn't know at the time. But I will be buying the genuine version, and I will not feature these on any videos. Here's another one. This was gifted to me. I really like it, and I do have the deck on my wish list, which I have some very giving, very generous people in my life, and I am so grateful to them, and they know that I do cards, and they like to give them to me, and I really appreciate it. And the cards, like I said, they are just cardstock. They do work as cards work. However, I just want to have the originals as well, and I do not showcase these, but these are just really small. And I wanted to show this because this is the guidebook that comes with it. It's piece of paper. And the cards themselves are really small. Like, even compared to the other counterfeits. So. But that's what I had to say on that. Do with that what you will. Hopefully, if you are interested in supporting artists on their work, because a lot of them spend years, I'm not exaggerating when I say actually years, developing these decks, making the art for these decks, going through the entire process to have them published, to have them made, to have them done. And for someone to purchase that, take pictures of it, and then sell lower quality versions of that, when this is a lot of artists, I mean, years worth of work and probably their main source of income, that's just, I can't imagine being the person to do that. And I understand, and I have said multiple times that cardstock is cardstock is cardstock, but if you have the means to do so, I would definitely encourage you to purchase the original cards. And I also understand that some people are like me and they have people give them to us, and it's fine. These are fine. And I feel like personally it would be a waste to like throw them away. And I don't feel like it would be a good use for them to not be used at all, because they were gifts and they do, you know, they're made to be enjoyed as gifts. I do sometimes carry these like in my purse. I like to take card breaks. It's what I do. I don't smoke. I don't do anything on breaks. Sometimes I just need to pull a couple cards to get through the day. And I like to bring the little, you know, fake decks, because if they get messed up, it's not as big a deal to me. But with all that being said, I understand there are also people that have financial issues, and there are also people who would not purchase these decks if the counterfeit version was not available. If that makes sense. Like, nobody is going to be able to buy this deck brand new, published, unless they want to spend hundreds of dollars. That's just how it is. And in that case, yeah, buying a deck for a few dollars is, you know, that's fine. I also know people who like to purchase the counterfeit deck first to see if they even like the cards, which is kind of as far as the morality goes. But each person's going to do what they want to do. And as someone myself who is very creative and very artistic, and I do make money occasionally off of things that I make, I would be upset if someone were to make a knockoff version and sell them and take away my business. And I understand that. But I also understand from the point of that might not have ever been a sale in the first place because people either couldn't afford it or didn't want to buy it that bad. So that's the whole morality thing about it. But these do exist. They are very readily available, and they are also being sold as original decks with a way jacked up price. So be careful about that. And also get some of this if you have decks that need work. That's really all I have on it. And there are just as many opinions as there are people. And you can make your own informed choices.